are with Mathias Lassen and Wei Sun, who are with Henn Architecten. They have offices here in China, and a very exciting project that we're looking at to talk to them about. And this is the Haiku Tower in Hainan, and it's part of a larger development of how many?
It's a total of 10 high-rises
that are all standing together. That looks spectacular. Tell us about this.
It's a group of 10 high-rises designed basically as symbol 10 fingers of 2 hands, and all towers are between 150 and 428 meters tall, and they are located on a former airfield of Hainan Airlines. Hainan Airlines is the client, and on Hainan, in Haikou, the capital of Hainan, the city is planning a new central business district. And this will be the heart of the central business district with the 10 towers. Out of these 10 towers, the tallest one, the 428 meter, 94-story tower, will be built first to set a sign or symbol for the entire business district to be developed. And currently we are in the design stage. Construction is supposed to start by the end of the year, 2012, and we're developing this together with Arab engineers for the main structure, a local engineer, IPPR, for MEP systems and additional structural systems, and the facade with front company from New York. And
during competition phase.
This was competition phase, and but this team will continue this phase, and we are expecting to have VD and construction document phase finished by the end of 2013.
We've been talking all week about connectivity between buildings and how tall buildings in the past have been kind of standalone entities, and there needs to be better connections just to move people from one to the other. And here you've got a whole development. Has there been any plan to go along with the design of these buildings to actually connect them?
Yes, but actually only below ground, not above ground. That is, this idea of the 10 fingers would not work with connecting bridges.
We tried a lot of options. There was the 2 phases of competition. In the phase 1, there was only 1 tower. The client each had only 1 job for all of the competitors. And during the investigation, we found out that the client, the Hainan Airline Group, is a really Buddhistic company, and they have the Buddhism as their belief. So we tried to integrate the concept of the Buddhism, the lotus, the upgrading atmosphere until the top, and into the structure, into the whole design. Then we went for the first phase, and the client wished to integrate the concept of Buddha hand. Buddha, in Buddhism, Buddha has lots of different hands. Sometimes you look at Buddha like this, sometimes like this, sometimes it's like just simply 2 hands. We tried a lot of different combinations. Also tried bridges in the air, also tried a huge podium like 10 floors high, connecting 3 or 4 buildings together. But somehow it does not come up to a harmonic 10 buildings along one main street together. At the end, we choose the most simple gesture of this simple praying hand, and then you have to show the fingers, have to show the form of the fingers somehow in the skyline. We have the podiums. We also have bridges between the podiums. The podiums are not so high. Most of them are 4 to 6 floors, and the whole underground should be connected with the basement, with the parking, and with subway altogether, even through the whole street. So the street will have also consideration that to sink the street in the middle part. That's one part of the whole urban analysis undergoing right now.
The tops of these buildings are somewhat reminiscent of Shanghai Tower, going up across the street. Do they have any functionality to them? And they're supposed to reflect the design of lotus blossoms. Is that right?
It's a lotus. If you look at this rendering in the night, there should be 10 lotus floating in the air of Haikou City.
Yeah. It's basically function-wise, it's a typical multifunctional building. If you look at the first one, first of all, regarding the connectivity above ground, we have to say that they are built in stages. The first tower will go up, the second tower will go up immediately, the second tower maybe in a couple of years, and the third, fourth potentially in 5 years, and the rest later. So it won't go up all at the same time, and this connectivity does not, in that sense, make sense in this way. The connection will be underground on probably 3 floors. There's a pedestrian connection, also the subway lines. There's a delivery floor, and there's a third floor that will be used for public events like ballrooms, for example. So there's a connectivity that's just underground. And the Lotus idea is not just when you look at the towers at night, but these 10 towers are developed in a way that the taller the tower is, the more open the lotus flower appears. If you look on it in a plan view.
There's still the possibility that we'll not get a contract for 1 tower or maybe 1 more. There's still the possibility that there's a whole 10 towers take 30 or 40 years to be developed. Some other architects or contractors can get other towers in case they look different, which is also a good thing to have this look different. Each tower is something else, that they share the same image of lotus at some certain point of time, for example, in the night, to have the initial image to be kept until, I don't know, in 50 years when it's all built.
So they may or may not be identical as they kind of look here. If someone else designs another tower,
we're pushing that. We hope.
It should have the same top on it to make that idea work.
It should ideally be the same language for all 10 towers, but of course we cannot pretend. We cannot see in the future if the client in 5 or 10 years is still intending to have the same design or to have the same architect to the other 8 towers. We are pretty sure we will do the first 2, or the second one as well, and this would be twin towers, and hope to get the rest, or at least, as Wei said, to have the same image idea of the lotus that would connect all 10 of them.
How do you anticipate the central business district will grow in and around these towers?
The first one is the tallest to be built, and this will be a symbol for the start of the development of the entire central business district. Once this is up, the entire area becomes real, becomes higher in value, with interest, and attracts more and other investors to continue with the areas around it. So this is a symbol and a start which will initiate the entire district to grow. And this is expected in Haiku, where Henn is, for the Chinese government, was announced to be the #1 international destination for China. And it's in fact the most southern part of China. It's a tropical and beautiful island for tourism. And it's a special economic zone. And it's politically motivated that this island will develop soon and strong.
It's a special island. I think since 2007, since the central government in Beijing announced the island is tax-free to the shopping destination, and is the international tourism island officially given as like 30 years before given to Shenzhen, the international opening zone. So this island can do everything actually what you want to boom the economy. The economy just goes like a rocket since 2007. The city doubled the size since 2007. So if you build 1 tower today, if the economy goes on for another 5 years, the city is full.
Right. Is there anything on this land now? You said this was a former airport. What's on this land right now to work with?
Beside our side, there's the central government of the province, or the provincial government, the headquarters of the Hainan Airline, lots of headquarters of banks. 20 years ago, this company had the best location to be the airport, and now they changed the best location to the very central heart of the city.
The central business district of Wenzhou is another project of yours. Construction period 2010 to today, according to your material here. Tell us what this project is and how far along it's gone.
Maybe lots of international architects know the city of Wenzhou. Wenzhou people are famous of making shoes, lighters, belts, glasses. They own a lot of factories in Italy, and they produce like suits there. They produce the shoes there. Even some towns are Wenzhouized in Italy or in France. Those people are the richest, and the price of the Chinese real estate are also boomed by the wives and sons of Wenzhou businessmen. They just go around the country and buy real estates, and they sell them. They make money. They are born businessmen, but they are not in the city. All of them are overseas in other cities. So the city itself looks really, really like a slum, really, really shabby. And it's difficult to touch them because every owner of each piece of land are so rich. If the government wants to tear down one house and build a new high-rise, it has to pay a lot more than even in Shanghai. On the streets of Wenzhou, you see much more often Porsche and BMW than in Shanghai, in a small city. So government cannot touch the land, they cannot sell the land, cannot make the money, and the businessmen have their business outside of Wenzhou. The government cannot have tax, so he has no money to rebuild the city, revitalize the whole urban context. The only thing he can do is to build a new piece of land. He got the new piece of land at the river, a little bit far from the city, and they issued an international competition for a CBD. And we proposed one scheme with 5 towers, and the whole plains are interconnected with bridges and landscape. And that image was really nice and impressive for the client, and we also try to convince the client and why we divided the landscape into different directions, because it is symbolized of the wells growing and splitting and then growing, and why we set up the building height from low to high, because the window business goes higher and higher. We use lots of Chinese interpretations there in the competition, and we won the project. Now they are still going on with us with the whole design process. We hope that until mid of the year, next year, we finish the design, we can start the construction. 5 towers.
5 towers, and so the towers have already been laid out. You know that there will be 5, and you're just finalizing.
There will be
the
5.
now.
It's been laid out. It's already been approved by SD.
Well, I want to thank you for coming by and discussing these projects, and this is fascinating.